Thank you everyone for coming to the Skippack Township Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order by asking everyone to rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Paul Fox. Here. Janine Mitchner.
Here.
Nick Felton. Here. Benjamin Webb. Here. Chris Helmiak.
Here.
Joe Zadlum.
Here.
Tim Woodrow is not here this evening, but Lonnie Manine.
Here.
You are here in his place. Barry Miller.
Here.
And myself, Franco D'Angelo, am present. This evening, during our executive session, we briefly discussed some staffing. And with that, before I open this up to public comment, I am going to ask for a motion this evening before we start that portion of the meeting. I would like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to add the appointment of special counsel for the Mill Run Perkiomen Valley Airport Subdivision Land Development. The item is being added now due to the item coming to the board's attention after everything was finalized with the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
With that, it was brought to our attention that there was a connection with the airport project and special counsel that we have with our land development. So therefore, although there was no actual conflict of interest, Mr. Clement and his law firm have withdrawn from any participation in the airport matter to avoid even the appearance of any impropriety. So regarding the proposed development of the airport property, the board is appointing Joseph Cools to serve as special independent counsel for this matter. With that, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joe Cools, Esquire, to serve as special counsel for the Mill Run Perkiomen Valley Airport Subdivision Land Development. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Joe, welcome.
Thank you very much,
You
Mr.
can
Chairman.
join us.
Thank you.
You can join us if you'd like.
Okay. Let the chair for me, how nice.
Budget for a bigger building.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome. With that, I'll open it up to public comment. Yes, sir.
Yes, Clint Buckwater, I live near the ball field. I wanted to say this is a year, wasn't bad, with the, I see the season's over. Little League wasn't a bad deal this year. I was not unhappy. I will say that my wife walks with me now, and field number 2 has a water run out right off the dugout. And my wife walks with me, she doesn't like to walk across the mud. I wonder if there's any chance you guys could concrete that section that's all washed out.
Clint, we're giving you a chance to carry her over that section.
I'm too old. Oh, it's terrible. So,
And they say romance is dead.
so that would be nice. There was a third thing, I can't remember.
You said field number 2?
Yeah.
Chris, can you put that on to take a look at that?
You guys must be aware, it's been like that for 30 years.
And she just started walking?
She just started walking. She started walking with me in the spring. Oh, how'd the fight make out? How'd you make out with the fight a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday morning about 9 o'clock at the little number 1 field? The cops came.
Oh, yeah, you looked at me.
Usually know what's going
We're not
on.
even aware of it.
Hold on. I went down.
Apparently, an umpire made a call that a parent didn't like. I was just,
What happened?
an umpire made a call that a parent didn't like.
Yeah, Clint texted me, I asked Chris, they didn't report that.
And the cops came out, and I didn't know if anybody got arrested or,
Oh, we weren't even aware. No report was made to the township.
not a big deal.
Not really unusual.
Actually, I don't see the cops there that often.
Did you write about it?
parent, not like.
Now, if you guys had cameras on the field, that would help.
For what? There were witnesses.
Huh?
That's something, unfortunately, it's kids playing, but the way sports have gone these days, it's crazy. I coach soccer, and there was just a almost brawl at the soccer game, and the referee threw out a coach and threw out two parents and had, told one he had to watch from the car if he wanted to stay on premises. The police would be called next. Unfortunately, it happens all too often where people get overly excited and forget that it's a kids game.
Listen, guys, you have some really serious people here, so I will sit down and talk my Jimmy Gallo.
Thanks, Glenn. Yes.
Hi, I'm Karen Lynch, 4114 Serenity Street. I want to say thank you and congratulations on connecting whatever we're on YouTube now, right?
Yes, we're live.
So, and I want to know what the implication of that technology is on participation from home in terms of submitting questions. Is there a chat? How do we do public comment in the future? Thank you.
I don't know about the participation part. That may have to be the next phase or look into that. They can submit comments prior to the meeting, right, Chris?
They can if the board would accept. Yeah.
I'm saying if someone had a question, we would answer it.
Well, they have questions, they can always call me anyway.
Right, and we would answer it live or what have you here at the meeting if they so chose. There's no interactive piece to it, at least not as of right now. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Dave Naples. I live on Hildebitle Road, and I am here to speak about the airport project.
Okay.
There are a number of problems with this. The first being that there are two creeks that feed the Procurement Creek. The headwaters are on the airport property. One of the retention basins is discharging directly into the pond that feeds the creek that runs behind my house. So the flooding I saw during Ida, which marked the first time in 15 years I had to wade out to my shed, is just going to get worse. Second, the increased traffic on Hildebitle Road, where there are two bus stops, because there are no grocery stores that way or that way. Everybody's going to be going right down Hildebitle, right down Collegeville, to go to the grocery store, to do whatever shopping, get to work in the morning and evening rush. There's also the question of a lot of the homes around that area are on wells, so there are definite potential water quality problems. It's been an airport for 80 years, and if you think there hasn't been any fuel oil spills, then as soon as they start disturbing that ground, all of that stuff is going to wash into the creek. And then there's one of the retention basins at the intersection of Mill and Hildebitle that they're going to put an 8-foot berm on, because apparently the visibility there is so stellar when you're making a left from Mill onto Hildebitle. So I have been circulating a petition around my neighbors in the area, and I am getting about an 85% positive rate saying that they do not want this development in there. There's also the fact that it's zoned RA, but it's being done as a cluster development option. In order to do that, it has to share a boundary with a property that's zoned R2. According to the latest zoning map that you have on the website, which is 2013, that is not the case. There's about a 30-foot stretch of Mill Road that borders the Iron Bridge property, which is zoned R2, but Mill Road is owned by the state, so there are two boundaries there. So it's not a shared boundary. I would like to hear your comment on that.
We really don't have too much to comment on at the moment. As you can see, there's nothing on the agenda regarding the airport this evening. Everything is in the preliminary stages. Nothing's come before us other than what we mentioned at the last meeting. So I would say as we move forward and things are introduced and brought before us, we can address it accordingly.
Okay. I will say that based on what I've seen, there is almost universal opposition to this. And people in Heritage Hunt, Saddlebrook Estates, and Iron Bridge Estates neighborhoods, and along Collegeville, Hildebitle, and Mill Roads. So, what do you think?
So, well, there's a couple things. One, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, I guess, what would you or the people that you are petitioning with like to see? Because I know that for years and years, many of the residents hated having the airport there. This is now being brought to the table and eventually before us regarding development. I don't know that by law we can actually stop the development. We may be able to work things out, make things better on behalf of the residents. I don't know that we legally can stop it. Is that the case?
That's the case, Mr. Chairman. We have an application, the township has an application that's been put before them, and the township is obligated to review that application pursuant to the rules and regulations which are currently in place. If the folks are opposed, as you state they are, I suspect we're going to be seeing them at the public meetings on this matter. There's a conditional use approval which is required in order to develop this property. There's a land development application that's been made, and an approval on that land development application is necessary in order for this property to be developed. So there's going to be multiple public hearings on this matter. There's going to be review letters generated by township staff. Our township engineer is going to look at it. The county NPDES, Montgomery County Conservation District, is going to look at all the flooding issues. This property, for the first time, is going to be subjected to very stringent stormwater management regulations that have been put in place over the last few years. And we are at the very start of a very long process. So when we get those review letters back, we're going to be looking at those review letters, and we're going to be assessing, the board is, whether the applicant has satisfied the criteria of the ordinance. It's not a popularity contest. It's a test of whether a property owner is entitled to develop their property based upon the fact that they conform with applicable regulations. That'll be the process that this township goes through over the course of, my guess is, the next 8, 9, 10 months.
I understand that applications have been made and the processes have to be followed. I get that. What I'm saying is that it should be rejected because nobody wants this thing up there. As far as what's going to go up there next, that's a separate question. The first thing that needs to happen is this development of 58 homes that is going to severely and negatively impact the life of 500 plus households needs to be brought to a halt.
Well,
And we can
the
discuss about
applications-
what the next steps are.
Okay, the application is not going to be rejected out of hand because people are concerned about it. The application is going to be reviewed. The application is going to be reviewed pursuant to the requirements of law by this township and by its consulting engineers and by the county.
So what you're telling me,
I'm not through, sir.
Okay.
At the end of that process, a determination is going to be made as to whether the application conforms or violates applicable law. That application is not going to be rejected out of hand simply because people are against it.
that should be one of the main criteria.
Okay.
You're talking about putting in 58 homes.
That hasn't been confirmed.
That's what's on the site plan.
A lot of people can come in with a plan with 100 homes.
But
Again, there's a process that it has
I
to go through.
understand there's a process, but there is also, like I said, almost universal opposition from the people who pay
And
the
again,
taxes
we
and
get
vote you guys in.
So before this gets into a back and forth with the township at this moment is neither for nor against it, as we are not backing you or backing you. What we're saying is we have to let the legal process take its course. If you wanted to do something with land that you owned and the government said, absolutely not, because your two neighbors don't like it, we would be infringing on your rights, on you as a landowner. So we have to let the process take its course. The outcome, we will see where we end up. Yes?
Leslie Conner, 1117 Shear Way. I wrote a letter to the township a year ago about this development because I became aware, I go to that farm stand, bearing pegs all the time.
Yep.
And I like, the farmland around there, I like
the way it looks. I don't even live nearby there, but I heard about the development, and I was very disappointed. I know that it would reduce the value of our 2-acre homes, which I have to live in, and it would also increase our taxes. Now, from what I understand, and this newly appointed council contests that it is legal, but from what Dave Naples said, it's not legal, and it would be up to the township to rezone it to the 2B category when the state road negates that possibility. So it will be a decision of the township. You mentioned a popularity contest. We just had an election. It would be in your best interest.
I didn't mention the popularity contest.
I use the word popularity.
I'm not sure what he was referring to. I'm not sure what he was referring to. And I would say with that election, I appreciate you bringing that up. I would think that we're doing the people's work and doing it well, and that's why we are still here and reelected. We will continue to try to do
I
it.
would contest that allowing this development to go through is not doing the people's work because it violates the will of
And
the
that's
people.
your right, sir. That is absolutely your right.
So there will be electoral repercussions from this.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody has the right to do that. If something happens and you don't agree with it, you have the right to cast your vote for or against it.
Picket it.
Let me also just clarify that I did not say the application was legal. That determination has yet to be made. All I said was the application is going to proceed through a legal process of review, and then a determination is going to be made as to whether that application conforms or doesn't conform with law. I made no determination on that. I barely even looked at the application. But the application is going to be submitted and subjected to a very long legal process to determine whether it conforms or doesn't conform with the regulations. I have no position on that. I have no clue as to whether it does or doesn't, nor does anyone else sitting up here right now.
So let me ask you this then. If part of that review, does that include taking into account the wishes of the people who are going to be affected by this?
Certainly.
Or is it strictly
Absolutely.
based
You'll
on
have your right
regulations?
to your say,
Certainly.
as we stated. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's going to be a conditional use hearing at which a stenographer will be here, there will be sworn testimony, and everyone is entitled to stand up, say where they live, estimate their proximity to the subject property proposed for development, and express their opinion. And all those opinions become part of the record.
And Mr. Naples, you know, I've said this before, I don't know if I've seen you before. We are not busting from Harrisburg to bust your chops. We live around the corner. We're neighbors too.
I understand.
We don't want extra traffic. We don't want extra demand on the school district. We don't want fill in the blank. We don't want the road paved. Okay, so if it's legal and they have a legal right to do something, we have the same concerns you have on how they do it legally and to the best of the township. Whether it's traffic flow or infrastructure improvement or drainage or water or sewer or streets or anything.
Or setting
we will
aside 6
hold them-
acres of detention basins for mosquito breeding grounds.
We haven't seen it, but when I do, if you've ever been here for any of the hearings that this board's been on, we hold them accountable and ask a ton of questions and see what's the best way to do it within what they're legally allowed to do, because if you stop them, then we get sued. And you don't want that either. So we're neighbors who have the same concerns you do, and we want the process to play out as well, so we can make sure that whatever's done is an improvement to the community, not a detriment to the community. Including kind of open space, parks, etc.
With that, Mr. Naples, I have to give everybody else a chance and keep this meeting moving forward, because like I said, there is nothing to do with that on the agenda this evening.
Understood.
Yes?
Just as quickly as an announcement for everybody in the room, the planning commission meeting this Monday will not have the airport project. It'll give staff, including Mr. Coles, more time to review it. The first public meeting of the planning commission to address this project will be in December. The third Monday in December, so the 20th.
Yes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, there are just two things I'm thinking of.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, just to interrupt you, I'm sorry. What is your name again?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Ann McHale. I live at 3812 Lagwispie Road, which is just down the street.
With no sewers.
With no sewers. But the two things I want to comment on is that I'd like to know how and who will do the environmental impact studies, and will they be done in an unbiased manner? And two, if rezoning is required, I'm assuming this is right at your feet, And if rezoning is required to do any of this, I would hope you would be very transparent with us and say, we are deciding to rezone this to make this go forward. Okay, I mean, I just expect that from you guys.
There's no rezoning which is being proposed as part of this project.
Okay.
This project has been submitted as an application purportedly in conformance with applicable regulations that are in place today.
Okay.
We're going to determine whether that's true or not, but there's no rezoning that's being proposed.
Okay, well, like I say, I just, if, you know, because that was mentioned, and if, in case you
No,
are
he
like-
wants it rezoned so that they
Can't.
can't build.
Can't do it.
No, that's not what I
No,
said.
that's
No,
not,
that's not what I
not
heard.
at all. And
What-
all I'm
that's
saying
what I heard.
is
That's
that as
what I heard.
my
What did you say?
What I
neighbors
said
do
is,
not do
based on
that.
the site plan, they are using a cluster development option, which
Right.
requires a shared boundary with a property that is zoned R2. According to the township zoning map on your website, that condition does not exist, because while Iron Bridge Estates is R2 and is next door to the properties, Mill Road runs between them and is state-owned, and is therefore not a shared boundary.
I did hear that. I thought I heard also that something about rezoning it though.
No.
Okay.
Say, just as a status update, I spoke with the Conservation District of Montgomery County as of this past Friday afternoon. They had not yet received an application for a water study.
Gotcha. Yes.
Hi, Justin Glennon, Rosewood Circle. I would just like to commend this body for their foresight of looking into professional staff and interests, and being above board and doing a great job for that. I would also like to say welcome to Mr. Cool. I'd also like to say, give us a little bit about yourself, your credentials,
Sure.
firm you're with, who you work for, what do you like, long walks on the beach?
I'm a land use and municipal attorney. It's the only field of law I practice. I've been doing it for over 30 years. I've represented numerous municipalities throughout Montgomery County. I've come in as special counsel with numerous municipalities throughout Montgomery County. I've also represented other aspects of the land development process. I've represented protestant groups opposed to development. I've represented developers. I currently represent 6 different zoning hearing boards in Montgomery County. I've represented Franconia Township over the years. I've represented Hatfield Township, North Wales Borough, East Norton Township over the years. So I've addressed all these land use issues from every angle, from the angle of municipalities, reviewing applications, from the angle of developers attempting to develop property, and from the angle of civic associations and protesting groups concerned about development. So I have a lot of experience in a narrow field, and this is it.
I'd like to say welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, Cindy Berkeley, Atlantis Road. So two questions. One, with regards to the airport, and it's my opinion, I don't think it's gonna hurt anybody's real estate value, because I'm sure that they're not gonna be like tiny little homes. I know that the lot sizes seem to be changing and getting smaller as the time's going on, because initially I think it was like 1 acre lots, then went to 1/4 acre lots, and now we're at 1/3 acre lots. And my concern would be that they're gonna keep getting smaller. I fear, without opening up a can of worms, that it could possibly be worse than single-family homes. So I think 58 homes is honestly not awful. It could be worse, in my opinion. So single-family homes, I applaud, because I think it could be cluster homes, as in like townhomes or something, which would be hundreds of cars, hundreds. So that's my one concern. I think what you guys are gonna do is gonna make it a positive, I don't know, aesthetics for our neighborhood. I'm sure that everybody will have an opinion, but I really think you guys will do a great job with it.
Well, thank you for saying that, and we will do our best.
I'm sure you will. I'm on Landis Road. I'm really affected. My second question is for Chris. So I know that you met with Gypsy Rose owner. I wanted to get an update on that.
Yeah, good question.
So correct.
Thank
I
you.
met with Dave Marcus people, so as you recall, we are going to be using a portion of the property for the sewer project once we get that final approvals and get that on started. However, in speaking with Mr. Markle and his people, that they are getting a plan together to address the Gypsy Rose as it is now and bringing a plan for development of the property. so we don't know what that's gonna look like yet. But they are going to be coming in very soon with the plan, probably start talking to staff first and then submit something at that point. What it is, I don't know. But
Well,
they
part
are
of that
going
was
to
taking
be
the, part of that was
taking the
building
existing
down.
building down and getting ready for potential
Right.
development. What that
Apparently,
looks
they're
like.
getting ready to make their move there.
Correct.
So, like, in the near future, get ready, like,
He
for
said,
the winter?
yes, he said, like, they wanna schedule a staff meeting, the first available. So it looks like they're, whatever Mr. Markle is planning, he's ready to move on,
Perfect.
okay?
Thank you
That would
very
be a
much.
beautiful project for the open space fund. That's a beautiful spot over there and be a nice park and a jewel for this township.
He doesn't sell anything.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it.
So,
I lived through my whole life.
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, do you know of anything in Perkiomen Township to do something about the lighting on 13 and 29? If there's any sort of development that's gonna go there, that traffic flow has to be addressed.
I
Do you know
hate
of
it in
any?
our township. I have Chris Kohler, their township manager, all the time, said the light isn't even timed properly, and
Right.
that's outside our jurisdiction. I hate that corner.
Oh, I know, I do
I avoid it at
too.
all costs.
I don't know of anybody who likes it.
I think the Office Tavern.
No, they don't like it because people cut through their parking lot to, because they
They
can't
stop
make
right
lights
to it
go
and keep
okay.
going.
Yeah, I know you guys don't have anything to do with that, I just
We've
wanted to
called there
know
plenty
if
of
you've heard.
times. My wife drives through there every day for work, and when the timing's off, she calls me, I call Chris calls over, and they change it by 30 seconds, that's about it, so. Outside our jurisdiction.
Yes.
Okay, switching gears a little bit. My name is Kessa Ward, 4151 Creek Road.
Say it again, sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Slowly.
Kessa Ward,
Spell your first name.
sure, K-E-C-A, Ward. We wanted to talk about pickleball. We love pickleball, so whoever was part of those courts,
Good job.
great job, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
have over 285 members in our
Wow.
league already. The courts are full every single night.
That's awesome.
It is the fastest growing sport in all of America. If you don't know it, it is. It's awesome. I encourage you all to come out. It's so fun. It's easy to learn. We're super excited about it. And we want to see if there's any areas for improvements. So there's big, long areas for keeping squeegees and things, maybe some benches, possibility of lights. Just
Yeah, we
throwing
can
it out
look into
there.
all that. Like I said,
Clint just had a heart attack.
That's far away, yeah.
And
No,
we
you
kick
were,
them off like Little League.
you were definitely heard when everyone came out for the desire, and
Yeah.
obviously they are there. So we are definitely open to growing that,
And we
especially if
would-
the interest is there.
Possibly work with you guys too,
Yeah,
and,
sure.
you know,
Appreciate that.
fundraisers and things, but super
Yeah,
awesome.
Bocce did the same thing, so
Right.
that's great.
So being ignorant to the process, what
Yeah.
steps?
Well, I was just gonna say, Chris, if you don't mind getting her contact info,
After the meeting,
so that we
you
can
come over
begin,
and give me your information.
yeah, this way we'll begin working with you to
Great.
move forward on.
We was hooking them up with the park board, so we could funnel some
Sure,
ideas.
yep,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
yep, thank you. Yes,
Hi, Eileen Johnson, the branch manager of the Perkiomen Valley Library, your library, when you support, thank you very much. I just wanted to give you an update about our summer, which it sounds kind of hot, hopefully we're going towards winter. But we had a great summer, we were able to come out to the park and do story time. The parents love coming out to the park, sharing and finding out what the different municipalities have. So we were able to do that story time, we did story time in front of the library. We have a program called Reading to the Dogs, it's actually Tail Wagging Tales, which is reading to the dogs. We were able to do that out on the lawn of the library, we had a great time. We have transitioned to doing some inside program now, but we still, most of our adult stuff is still online, but everybody's always welcome to come and join us, it's always a lot of fun. We are in the midst now of our annual appeal, which supplements the things that are given to us from the different municipalities. And if there's any questions for the library, we've got a lot of stuff going on.
well, thank you, and thank you for the update. Anyone? Yes.
Ron Broderick, Fairview Estates, the Lotus Drive, been here for 43 years. Just to revisit the airport project again. A couple years ago, I became aware that the airport was going to be decommissioned, whatever, And I knew at that time it was going to go somewhere, as far as maybe residential or whatever. At that time, I questioned the supervisor, because I was aware that the township has a large fund for procuring property. And I was told at that time, there's very little property in Skippack Township that's left to procure.
Yes.
And I asked them about the airport project, or the airport itself. The answer at that time was that the person who owned the airport was considering turning it into a drone port.
For Amazon.
Yeah. Wow. Apparently that's gone by the wayside. Now it's going to be, unless there's still a portion of that that they're considering for that. Because looking at the schematic that I looked at, it looked like there was some area that was not going to be residential, that may still be in the future. The point I'm making is, does the township have the option of buying that property and turning it into a park?
Yes.
We need more pickleball courts. Yeah. Many things can be done with it.
I'd love to see an
They
amphitheater.
did a great job in procuring the Lenape Park project up there on the far side of the township. That was a great thing. Why couldn't we acquire that property for township residents and many other uses which would not create some of the situations?
And thank you for saying that. Again, all options are on the table. That may very well become an option. We did try and purchase the airport some years back, and we're told that they wouldn't sell it to us. As far as the option, again, if depending on how the process goes, that may be an option. We will never, I can tell you, as a board goes, make everyone happy. As you're sitting here saying how great Lenape Park is, we heard the residents, we did our best, it didn't meet certain criteria. We purchased it, open space, have a park. We're still getting backlash today for that park. So you can't make everyone happy no matter what you do. We will do our best, and that option is still on the table.
All right, I just wanted to bring that forward.
Yeah,
I
no,
think that
thank
could
you.
be a
Yeah, and to add to that, there's something to consider here. It isn't just we buy it to develop it. One of the reasons it's zoned the way it is because we can't buy everything, right? If we want to buy something, we can only pay what it's appraised for, not a penny more. If a developer were to pay $5 more, they can go do it unless we did a hostile condemnation, which we've never done, which we don't feel inclined to do. So you can't buy everything. You can dictate how things are done. So in this case, the option they're choosing, half the land would have to come back to us for free. So if we were to buy it, we would have to pay for 60 acres when the first 30 we might get for free. So you have to consider the cost of buying all of 60 acres, which could be pretty enormous, versus the fact that the first will be free if they go this route. So when we come to that crossroad of should we buy it or not, that has to be factored in because the land value then is almost twice per acre because you're only buying the second half.
Well, are you also taking into account that of that 30 acres of open space, almost 20 of it is retention basins?
Well, first of all, I'm just letting you know what the options are.
Right.
We're not doing a discussion here, right? I'm not near decision process time. I'm letting you know that don't just equate it as either we buy 60 or you develop 60. It's going to be half and half because that's the way it's zoned. And as far as I'm concerned, my understanding of it was that the half has to be otherwise usable land. You can't give me garbage, undeveloped land, so that's your half. It's got to be something otherwise could have been developed was the intent of how it's zoned. So a lot's going to happen here yet, a lot. But don't just think it's either buy or develop. We zoned it this way intentionally to protect ourselves, to ensure that at least half of it would not be, and we get it for free. That's a big advantage.
Well, I bring it up because it seemed to me a couple years ago it was a viable option had the land been available at that time. So I bring it forward here because there is going to be a lot of opposition to have more and more traffic, more and more housing built. And if there is another option, I think we should explore it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just comment on him real quick. Jeff didn't want to sell it for like 3.5 back then. Lenny gets about 7 for it. So if they got 12 in the fund, do the math here. So I mean, I wouldn't know where the numbers come from.
What we have in the fund is irrelevant.
Yeah, we
Okay.
gotta go by appraised value.
We gotta go value not one penny more. And he can get more from somebody else, and we're not gonna.
There could
hustle against
be
somebody.
40 million in there. We can't just say we're gonna take it.
And I agree with you, I'm just saying, basically, like, if you look based upon like Mermaid Lake, you look at stuff like that, where they went above and beyond, and had to pay a lot more above the value that the developer was paid. So, understand, I live right behind there, I get all this, we'll all be involved in this process, everybody's being transparent, due diligence. I was just trying to add just a little quip there about, like, money's money, and these projects are tough. I grew up in this industry, and it put food on my table, so I get it, so.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, Sandy Katuth, 4238 Atlantis Road. First of all, I want to say thank you for videotaping the meetings. I really appreciate it. I know I've been one of the ones that have been asking for that because I know a lot of residents, can't come out to these meetings. They have, family that they have to take care of, little ones they have to look after, or meetings, or they just work. They have to work during the night shift. So thank you. I think it's fantastic that now everybody can view them and at least know what's going on in the community. So I want to say kudos to that. Thanks. I just have one question. I picked up one of the brochures outside. It says it has a map on it and it talks about the township. Yes, that one. And I noticed that it said the park meetings were in there, I think once a month, but I don't see where they're on the website at all. Can we attend those? Are they I was kind of confused on that one.
So they're on the schedule for to be up to monthly. Typically our park board and some of our other advisory boards, they only meet on kind of more of an as-needed basis when there's topics to discuss. And so recently they haven't been as much, especially since our park and rec person who kind of coordinated with that board a lot did leave the township back in late summer. So we're working on replacing her as well. So they are going to meet soon, I believe, and once I have that date, it will be posted and you can come and discuss. Again, that's not a meeting like this where decisions.
I'm going to correct you, Chris. We as far as the park and rec position.
Correct, and we brought in a woman who's going to do more of the park and rec events and things like that, so she is going to be meeting with that board soon. As soon as I have that date, I will post that on our website, Facebook, anybody can come and meet with the board and discuss
But it's usually if there's a topic, an agenda, something comes up, or from time to time, for them to brainstorm if they want to look into a project or make a change. It's not a set.
Because wouldn't that include changes or updating suggestions or something that to the courts or anything like that?
And again, that's Paul mentioned the park board. So what would happen is, in their communication, he would bring in the park board. They would get together, discuss things, and then advise us on what their thoughts are as far as how to proceed.
And then the last question I had was on more of the cluster option with the airport situation. It's very confusing to a lot of people, and they don't know what it is and what it entails. So if you could kind of explain that.
Yeah, the goal there, without getting into particulars and size and what have you, knowing that a developer could come in there and develop it, our thought process was, let's try and preserve as big a space as we can. And if there are going to be homes there, not just have a green piece of land that no one uses or the people from that development are going to go walk their dog on. Let's have something that's useful to the entire township, that everyone can use, whether it be park, trails, additional pickleball courts, what have you, so that if there's going to be something there, we try to aesthetically please everyone and have something that's useful to the entire township versus no open space, or as Paul said, unusable, like here where the basins are. You guys can have that, great. Nothing was going to go there anyway. So that's the idea behind the cluster. If you can't legally stop them, let's get as much for the township as possible.
But even on that 50% portion, only 10% of the whole park can be used for putting something on that?
What do you mean?
Isn't it like 10% of the whole property can only be used for like recreational buildings or whatever it is? Isn't the rest of it have to be open space?
Well, I don't know what you mean by recreational buildings, because it would be open space. I mean, if you're putting a gazebo, is that what you're
Right,
referring to?
right. But yeah, because from what I understood with the cluster, it was 50% open space, but only but 10% of the whole property could be used for recreational building.
I'm not aware of that. Maybe Joe, you can look into it. Usually open space is, I mean, if you want to make a
Township home.
Church Road
Right.
park with the swings and the basketball court and it's open space, we've turned it into a park for the residents, for the community.
So half of it's gonna be open space, which means the township owns it for perpetuity. We could never even sell it. So I don't know this 10% thing you're
Yeah,
referring
I'm not
to.
aware of
The only
that.
rule of this is, okay, you're giving us half. Like I said, we can't outbuy everybody. We can't buy a piece of land, we can't outbid every developer. So if it's gonna happen, we want our half.
Right. I know it's just frustrating to residents because we have the 1 and 3/4 acre currently, and then we have these beautiful large spaces between houses, and then our neighbors are right there. I mean, they're right on top of each other, and our viewpoint is now that, and not the empty the space between houses. So I feel like we're
And again, the other option would have been huge homes,
right.
but eating up the gross majority of that property, nothing for the township.
It's safe with fences and decks and pools.
Right.
Well, the thing
But
is, the
that's not what we
township's
are.
getting pretty much nothing anyway, because out of that 50% open space, most of it is retention based.
We haven't seen that yet.
Again, we
I
haven't, exactly, we
that
haven't
yet.
seen it,
I've
the
never
process hasn't begun, and
Yeah.
we will have our input on all of that when it comes before us. Because again, our goal, as Paul said, as your neighbors, is if it's going to happen, to make it the best it can be and palatable for all the residents, whether you live across the street from it or on the other side of Skippack. It's
But if it was
our township.
But if it was the 1 3/4, it would be way less houses, less traffic, less taxes, less.
How many,
everything.
but again, I don't have the particulars, I
Yeah.
don't even know what's fully going to be presented here.
Right, right.
But how many houses, what are we talking, what's the difference in houses?
It's a 1/4 acre versus an 1 3/4.
So
Half of it,
It-
as opposed to a 3/4 for all of it.
all of it,
Right, so how many houses we talking?
that's what I'm saying, what's going to be the differential? And we don't even know how many houses they're going to put there, not put there, what we're going to work with them on or against. So all of this is still up in the air, the process hasn't even begun.
May I interrupt for just a second?
Yes.
Yes.
My understanding of part of the process, or what I would expect a developer very well do when moving through this process and presenting the conditional use application in a public hearing, is to show us what the yield for that property might be absent the cluster. So you're gonna be able to see very clearly what that property might develop as absent a cluster. You're making an assumption that I'm not sure is true, which is that they get greater density because of a cluster. They may very well not achieve greater density because of a cluster. They may achieve less density. They may achieve exactly the same density. The benefit of the cluster being that the homes are clustered, and that leaves the possibility for open space acquisition. So we're going to see that as part of this process. And right now, we're just guessing, and there are assumptions being made that might just as well be not true as true. But we're going to see that. There's nothing you're saying that's coming as a surprise.
No.
This has all happened every time a cluster ordinance has been proposed for enactment, every time a proposal has been put forth under a cluster ordinance. So we're going to see
Right.
what the yield might be absent the cluster and what the yield is proposed as under the cluster.
But on an 1 3/4, I can't build my whole lot up. I have to have opens. I can only have so much percentage of blacktop, building space.
And these folks are going to be subject to those same impervious surface calculation requirements, those same building coverage requirements, and more importantly, they're going to have to move through a stormwater management plan and satisfy our engineer, not their engineer, our engineer, that there is no greater stormwater runoff post-development on this property than there was pre-development.
And again, as you're saying, and this is purely based on cluster, not this development, if you have the 1 3/4, and there's, like you said, well, the driveway that you can't cover it all, but there's a house here, here. Now maybe you have some houses here, but this is all your open space and park. That's more palatable than, yes, they're bigger lots, but you have a new town in there.
Right,
basically.
but I have 50-some houses versus 10 houses. I mean,
We don't know that. We don't know that. That's what Joe just
But
explained.
if you do the
We're
math
gonna go-
on the area of the footage, and an acre and 3/4 versus a quarter of an acre.
Process, and like Paul said, they're only able to use so much of that land.
I'm curious, though, it appears like what I'm hearing from you is not that the question before the board is whether or not the development will be done, but what shape the development will take.
That's not true. I just said to you.
That's what I'm hearing.
I just said to you, if it legally can go through, this board was prepared to make it a better product, more palatable for the township. If. Again, nothing's started.
So is part of that legal?
We're all spinning our wheels here tonight, and we're going to have the same discussion when the meetings actually start to happen.
So I have a quick question actually for the council. Is part of that legal calculation the will of the residents?
Certainly. It's a consideration. What's more important, frankly, is the evidence of the residents. If you have evidence that you want to put forth, sir, you're going to be given an ample opportunity to do that. You seem to know a lot about this project. You seem to know a lot about the conservation district and the applicable regulations. I think what might be important for you is to participate in that hearing and swear under oath and present your evidence. What's important here is, and I think maybe one of the assumptions you're making, and I could be wrong about this, is faulty, and that is that this board has some ability to say no development. Okay? That's not the case. In the United States of America, you're entitled to use your property, and the government can't take it, and they can't tell you you can't use it without providing just compensation. Okay? So every owner, regardless of whether they're an owner you like or an owner you don't like, or a lovely old couple or a big bad development, every owner of every property is entitled to use their property, and there's nothing that this board can do about that.
Kilo being in London begs to differ.
Well, when we get to the hearing, you can give me a copy of that case. I assume that's that's case law you're citing?
Yes,
All
it's
right, you can give me a copy of that case.
It's
and that'll
an
be part of
eminent
the-
domain case from New London, Connecticut.
Okay, and that'll be one of the things this board takes into consideration, because we're going to follow the law.
Anyone else? I got to move this along. Yes, sir. I'm going, just for the record here, regarding the airport, I am going to limit it here shortly, because again, this meeting is not about that, and I think we've put out quite a bit. So I'll take one more question on the airport, and then I got to move on.
No airport question.
Yes, sir.
Quick question for Chris. Now we're up one running with YouTube. That's great.
Name and address, please.
Lucas Mitch, 806 Collegeville Road.
Thank you.
And Chris, I was going to ask you, are those videos going to be posted each meeting, or is this just live and then it goes?
No, the recording will also be on our YouTube channel, which my understanding YouTube is kind of difficult for new pages, new channels to find things certain ways, searching. So that's a YouTube thing, just because it is fresh and brand new, but the videos will be saved on our YouTube channel.
That's great. I know with Facebook videos, you can put it up there as a live, and sometimes it goes away. So if it's up there on YouTube, to stay as a record, that's great. Quickly, I wanted to commend Dave for his effort in trying to put together people's thoughts and preliminary concerns for the project. So thank you, Dave. I think we're all trying to do that in one capacity or another by being here. I'm glad to hear that the pickleball courts filled, and it's even better to see all of the chairs filled here tonight. And so I would ask all of you, no matter what the issue is at hand, please come out and see what's going on. Stay in tune, stay in touch. Sometimes things take years to develop. There's a long timeline. Other times things happen really quickly. And that was my last question was, I didn't understand the motion that was processed in the beginning of the meeting. If you could explain what that was.
Oh, yeah, because there was a change in the agenda, we had to do it that way.
Okay, what was the change? I don't think I understood.
The appointment of a new special counsel for that project.
Okay, gotcha. Why was that done? is.
Were you not here for the meeting?
I'm not understanding why that occurred.
I think you might have missed the very beginning. I think he walked in just after.
I came in, I missed the budget meeting, but I'm not understanding
So
why that
we were
changed.
made aware that there was a connection to the previous special counsel,
Okay,
and therefore, even though there was no impropriety or anything like that, we wanted to get ahead of it in being transparent and fair, and assigned a new special counsel for that particular project.
okay, that's great. Transparency, best policy, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
This is not regarding the project.
All right.
My name is Deborah McCabe, and I'm a resident of 2249 Tanner Drive. Firstly, although the election has not been certified, I want to begin my comment time by congratulating the winners of the November 2nd municipal election, especially my opponent for Skippack Township, who's here. I'm thrilled. Voted Marshall, congratulations.
Thank you.
It was inspiring for me to see so many residents vote, either in person or by mail. I think that as a township, we should be proud of that. I encourage this board and the new board to harness this enthusiasm that's here and the energy that's in this room by continually engaging your residents and inviting all of us to be active participants in our local government. I knocked on many residents' doors, during the months leading up to the election. I listened to their concerns, but I also listened to their suggestions. Our township has a wealth of untapped talent and capabilities. I believe our township can and it should offer additional opportunities and pathways for our residents to contribute to and to feel valued by their local government. And that's on a very positive note. I didn't win it was enlightening to me. It was eye-opening. It was wonderful. And I hope this energy continues and you see the value that we can add. Governing together, and it's just a comment.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's good, and we welcome it. And maybe there has not been in the past because we were not live on air, but we have welcomed suggestions and help many times in the past. And unfortunately, not everyone comes out, participates, or you don't even have to do that at a meeting. It doesn't have to be a public meeting. You can call the township, put in your suggestions, say what you would like to do or not do. Unfortunately, we have not had that. So thank you for saying it, and not just publicly in here, but live on camera, TV. We welcome everyone and their suggestions, because the only way things get done is to work together.
Correct.
Yeah, and is, I applaud your reference to Ron. You don't have to have a position to make an impact.
Correct.
There are so many people in this community that do so much, and they don't need to sit this day as to do that.
That's correct. That's
So,
great. Thank you
you
for
gave
that.
Tom.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have one more comment, if I can, it'll be quick, I know.
Sure.
Request for time. So my second reason for commenting pertains to the recent resignation of Supervisor Tammy D'Agostino and the more recent appointment of Supervisor Benjamin Webb. Thank you. I know the board accepted Tammy's resignation at their September 8th meeting, as noted in the minutes that were approved. And according to the second-class Township Code of Pennsylvania, a resignation does not create a vacancy until the date that the resignation is accepted by a majority board of the supervisors, which you did at your September 8th meeting, which is the effective date of Tammy's resignation. Now, per the same section of this township code, the board must fill that vacant position within 30 days of the effective date. Okay. If not, then a vacancy board needs to be created to fill the vacant position. And a vacancy board is comprised of the Board of Supervisors and a registered elector of the township. Now, I'm not sure who the registered elector of our township is. At the beginning of each year, there is someone who's supposed to be designated. So on October 4th, the township posted on their website a change in the date of your October meeting from October 13th to October 6th. Okay. I did not find any reason for the date change. No reason for the date change was provided. October 6th is within the 30-day period following Ms. D'Agostino's resignation. and as such, the board can legally fill the vacant position on October 6th. October 13th would have exceeded the 30-day period following Ms. D'Agostino's resignation and would have required a vacancy board to fill that position. The only item that was listed under new business on the October 6th agenda was consider appointment to fill the vacancy on the Board of Supervisors. A dictionary basic term of consider says consider means to carefully think about before making a decision. On October 6th, this board not only considered the appointment of Benjamin Webb, but the board also voted on it and administered the oath of office to Mr. Webb at that time. Well, I'm almost done. Mrs. D'Agostino's resignation was noticed in the correspondence section, which it should have been, in the September 8th board minutes. Those minutes were approved at the October 6th meeting, but they're not posted on your website until October 7th, the day following Mr. Webb's appointment. Residents would have had no idea that there was a vacancy on the board and that Mrs. D'Agostino had resigned until the day after you had appointed Benjamin Webb as her replacement. At no time did this board solicit or request nominations for the vacant position from residents. Unless a resident had attended that September 8th board meeting, they wouldn't have known. I'm almost done. Thank you for bearing with me. It is my understanding a resident delivered a letter to the township office on October 4th, indicating his desire to be considered for this vacant board position. This letter was not read as correspondence at the October 6th meeting, nor has this resident received a response from this township acknowledging receipt of his letter and status of his nomination request. The Township Fall-Winter Newsletter, which I absolutely loved, thank you. Thank you for sending that. I look forward to receiving it all the time. In the newsletter, it lists October 6th as the date for a monthly meeting of the Board of Supervisors on one page. On another page, Benjamin Webb is already listed as a township supervisor. Not sure how that could be.
Yeah,
So-
it's really interesting.
Okay, that's okay. So,
Along with our
I'm
police chief.
I'm sorry. Bill,
Police
give-
chief?
Bill.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a mistake. There's no police chief in the township.
No kid.
I just want to finish.
Oh, there was a clerical error. Okay.
Okay. So I would ask this board to provide some clarity regarding the reason for the date change for the October 6th meeting. Why the word consider was used on the October 6th agenda, and the lack of any acknowledgement by this board that a resident did express interest in the vacant supervisor's position. And I am not questioning Mr. Webb's qualifications at all to hold this position. Welcome to the board. But I need to understand the process, and I think the township residents need to understand.
Well, I can tell you, meetings, dates, as long as they are properly advertised, can be changed.
Without reason?
No laws were broken,
No, without reason.
and no application need be filed for such a position. This board has the right to appoint whoever they want, as any political party would. Joe Biden is not appointing someone from the Trump administration. He's appointing his people. So we can talk around it all we want. However, this board broke no laws, appointed someone they thought was very qualified for the position, and has given to the township for many years. And there's pretty much nothing else to say. As far as the clerical errors, these things happen. We can think about it, boast about it. Hey, let's be happy there's a newsletter. One way to get rid of clerical errors is not have a newsletter. I don't think anybody wants that.
Especially before the election.
Right. No, I think there were.
I'm just answering.
So I
You may or may not like my answer, but I'm just answering.
You did, thank you. I wasn't bringing this up as a concern with any partisanship issues.
No, the point is,
So I want to understand the process.
Don't
If
take
this
it that way,
happens
I'm
again-
just telling you the
Well,
facts.
I
The process is we're
mentioned
allowed to
why
put it
Dr.
on.
Russell had-
As an example,
Got it.
not sure how I should, I'm not gonna get into politics and parsing,
Of course not.
okay?
It's like, we
I just want to
appoint
understand
all,
the process.
Well, I thought I
that's all.
just explained the
the
process.
process is we're allowed to appoint anyone we want, just like we can appoint our own legislation, our own engineer, our own solicitor.
Correct.
We can ask somebody to sit down, we can appoint somebody else. We don't need to advertise that, we don't need to take applicants for it. It's our board, we get to pick our board. That's just what it comes down to.
So what was the reason for the date change? It's so unusual. You guys are like clockwork. Why did you change October 13th to
It's our
October 6th?
prerogative to do that, to have the window to make the appointment, like you pointed out.
Okay.
did
I
it.
think
So you
that's
did it to
all I'm
make the
asking for. I want you to say it. That's why it was changed.
We're allowed to do that.
We're allowed.
I mean, if we advertise it, it was on the agenda.
Absolutely
I'm
are.
not sure what else to say.
That's why I
mean,
read the township.
Yep.
Absolutely are allowed to do that.
This is our cabinet. We
Yes.
appoint our cabinet.
Right.
That's
Thank
what,
you.
how it works.
When, and when you say advertise, maybe it would help people to know what that means. Where you advertise.
Where we advertise the meeting, change the agenda.
So the meeting changes or any legal notices are published in a newspaper of public dissemination in our area. In our case, the township utilizes for our public notices the Times Herald.
So I can go October 4th Time Herald and find that the meeting's changed.
I think it was October 3rd or 4th, yes. It would be in their legal notices
Great.
that it was published, that they would change the meeting to this day. Actually, it might have been before that. It has to be within at least 24 hours, I believe it would soon.
Okay.
And our website's always updated.
Thank
Correct.
you. The
The
website is
agenda and the
upside.
announcement is on our website and our Facebook page.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question. Do we have any time frame on when the parks position will be filled? The lady that left in,
No, that's what I'm saying. There will not be a position, that position any longer. That was mixed in before with our receptionists, for lack of a better term. We have now hired someone separate to specifically work on park and rec events and grow that section, because we weren't seeing that before. And we think that Skippack Township can do so much more with our parks, and therefore we've gone this direction. So it is filled, and you're gonna see a lot more than ever before.
Yeah, well, as Kesha said, the pickleball courts is a great idea. It's changed the township, it really has. Who is that person? I'm sorry?
I was shocked to see how busy they are.
Yeah, every night. Who's that person that was appointed?
Oh, Kristen, what's her
Her
name?
name is Courtney Marengo.
That's it.
Courtney
She
Marengo.
is now what we call the Special Events Recreation Coordinator, and she will be doing some of that work now, the recreational events and projects.
And is her information on the website?
It should be, that was updated, I believe, last week we had.
Yeah, she's recent. If not, it'll be there shortly.
All right.
And again, you can come in and leave comments, questions for her, a phone number. She'll get back to you, whatever the case may be.
Correct, she's not a full-time, she's not here every single day.
Right.
She's part-time, but she does come in, so if she's not here, you can leave a message for her, and she would get back.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep. Yes.
Just one last thing, I'm sorry, I just thought of something, so Cindy Bumperco and I just started. The prison, or the police barracks, when they're detonating stuff, is there a way to post that on the website?
Stop.
Like, they had that, we could add our name to like an email, and they would notify us, but I haven't been notified, and we heard the last one.
That was at the prison.
Okay.
Yeah, the prison was doing a bomb detonation training.
Right. But I remember being on like their call list or their email list, that we would actually get notification before they did it.
Did you sign up for that?
Right,
But
and
that
I
wasn't the
did.
state police, right?
No, that was,
No, it's a bomb squad at the prison.
At the prison.
But it was weird, because we didn't get it the last
Because
time.
I wondered what the heck had happened.
I got
it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't know like if like the township knows and you can post it on your website.
It was not the state police barracks being instructed, it was not that project that made that noise. I heard the same loud bang as everyone else and didn't
Twice.
know what was going on.
Yeah.
I did find out after the fact that it was a bomb squad class. And I do know you can sign up for alerts from the prison for not just things like that, they send out alerts for other things, so you can sign up for those through the prison website.
But is there a way that you can post it?
If we're aware of them, yeah, we can post that information on our Facebook
like the information and or even like links for us to be able to sign up? To get the proper notification? to be
Not a
able,
bad
like,
idea.
good call?
Yeah.
They didn't tell us though, I mean, go figure this thing
Right.
out.
Hot stuff, shook in the house.
Chris looking at it.
All right.
So we can, well, that,
Yeah, we can sign.
I'll look at adding that information from the counter, from the state's website, a link somehow on our website, I'll look.
That'd be great. Thank you, Chris.
Anyone else?
sorry.
Yes.
Tom Baker, 747 Primrose Path. Let me take a stand so you can hear me. I just had a quick question following up on the budget discussion that occurred earlier. It's my understanding that the budget will be available tomorrow or at least shortly, and we can get copies of it. And at the December 20th meeting, we'll have an opportunity to ask questions about specific items in the budget. Is that correct?
Not the 20th. The 20th is a planning commission meeting. The supervisors is the second Wednesday, off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
What
I'm
that
sorry.
number
I
is,
got-
but
got
it's the
the
second
date wrong.
Wednesday in December.
Okay.
That's when you can make comments before the board considers adoption of it.
So we would be able to ask questions about specific parts.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, I see no other hands, we will proceed with the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion to approve the October 6, 2021 minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris, what do you have under correspondence for us?
Correspondence, I have a letter from a young gentleman named Sam Kohler. He is a Boy Scout who is attempting to get his Eagle Scout rank, and as part of that, he has proposed he wants to do a project as required as part of that process in honoring his former assistant scoutmaster who passed away from cancer 2 years ago, and possibly looking at putting a bench or benches in Palmer Park, because apparently his assistant scoutmaster did enjoy using Palmer Park and walking in Palmer Park, and would like to see if he could use that as his Eagle Scout project to construct bench and put it in Palmer Park.
A bench?
A few benches near the basketball courts.
Yeah, he said a few benches in his honor.
How about near the
Specifically near
pickleball?
the basketball.
Yeah.
So
We
what
just
I
solved
would-
the pickleball problem.
Yeah.
Well, at least part of
What I would
it.
recommend to the board would be to refer him to the park board and work with
Yeah.
him
And
first,
that may,
and then,
all kidding aside, may
No,
coincide
of
greatly with
Of
what we're
course,
talking
let's do
about.
it.
and work with the park board on his proposal and come up with good proposals to
Sure.
come back to you guys with,
Yep.
so you can consider.
Makes sense, will you give them that feedback?
I will do that.
Make sure not too low, because I want to get back out of them, all right?
I think there's a picture of an example of one, but obviously we can work with him on design and size and everything.
Okay. Thank you.
That's all we have on our correspondence.
All right, moving on to administrative actions. Do I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report as of October 30th, 2021?
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the interim bills paid on October 25th, 2021, which include the general fund totaling $92,174.25, the sewer fund coming in at $8,031.27, as well as parks and open space coming in at $5,567.44. Also including bills for payment on November 10th, 2021, which include the general fund totaling $60,162.18, the sewer fund equaling $95,915.92, and finally, parks and open space equaling $20,220.65. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Reports. Lonnie, what do you have for us this evening under the engineer's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report tonight will concentrate on the Fair Hill paving project. So, work to date, the concrete curb, sidewalk, and handicap ramps are 100% finished on that project. The roadway work itself entails milling 3 inches of the existing road, replacing with 3 inches of base repair, and then adding a wearing course of 1 1/2 inches to the top.
Okay.
The contractor is Alan Myers, and we received a call from him late last week saying he expects to begin work sometime after Thanksgiving now and be finished before Christmas.
So Lonnie, as an engineer, is there a risk to put, I don't know, maybe a blacktop, is there a risk of doing this in cold temperatures for things like longevity, 5, 10 years down the road, or is it pretty standard?
As long as the temperature is 35 to 40 degrees and rising during the day, there's no risk to putting the material down. So we'll have to monitor the temperatures during the work, make sure that it actually works during those times.
Right, okay. All right, well, thank you for keeping us posted.
Quarry's
on
even
that.
open?
Excuse me?
Quarry's
Yeah,
even open?
quarry's open almost all year round nowadays.
Really?
They rarely shut down now.
All right.
Well,
Last summer,
the base, don't they
last-
put something in the base, or they can?
They can, but they don't use it.
Gotcha.
Last winter, we had paving projects on Christmas Eve. We were paving on Christmas Eve in some townships.
I just don't want to be,
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanna-
short-sighted and do something if it's.
All right, we want to
Yes,
do
we
Yeah,
that.
we will make sure that it's paved when it's proper time.
Yep, perfect.
Anything else, Lonnie?
That's it.
Thank you, Greg.
Lenity Park is also paved now.
Oh, good.
The trail and the entrance.
All wrapped up?
And the trail's all wrapped up. I don't know if I stole Joe's thunder with that. Just add that.
Thank you, appreciate the update. Joe, Mr. Zablo, what do you have for us under the planner's report?
Just that all of the restoration work at Untitled Park is complete. And
Is the paving done there?
pardon?
Is the paving done there?
It's hardening right now. We do have one issue remaining with the contractor at Untitled Park. The pavilion slab was not poured up to standard, and there are 7 puddles on the slab. We negotiated with them and talked about the best solution, and best solution seems to be to locate the low point in those puddles and drill a hole to allow for drainage so that the water doesn't freeze on top of the concrete, because it would deteriorate, over the years would deteriorate the concrete. We have not paid him for any faulty concrete work, and we have not yet informed him of how much he will not be paid for the faulty concrete work. But we have agreed to meet at the site and observe his work from this point on. He wanted it as much as we wanted it, because he didn't want to go and drill holes and then have us say, hey, you drilled them in the wrong place. You gotta go drill holes. So we look forward to wrapping that all up soon. And the good news is that the pavilion is entirely usable as it is now. I heard someone say earlier, it is a pretty special place.
Are we all squared away from Ida, the damage Ida caused, is that all?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all.
Even the electrical? Okay.
And the observation deck is complete, and if you can make it up the hill from the pavilion to the observation.
I can make it, you can make it.
It's like, we already have a rural township, but if you make it up to that observation deck, you feel like you've gone into the mountains somewhere.
How many drains do you think it's going to take? Drain holes?
There are 7 butters.
Gotcha.
7 holes? What's that? Yeah, what's with, how's the
lot system work?
The lot system work with the bathrooms? Chris, I don't know if you...
We are working on the timing of the locks to be able to open on their own in the morning. The bathrooms aren't open quite yet. Pavilion can be used, you go into the pavilion, you can park there, you can go down to the creek, you can walk the trails. The bathrooms, we're still working on those locks. We are getting those
wrapped up, okay.
We put those porta potties there, or did somebody else put those there?
The porta potties were there temporarily from the Procurement Watershed Conservancy, so they could use the pavilion for their educational program, for some kids before the end of the year here. So they wanted to use a porta potty. I said that's fine, because we were still working at that time on restoration of the bathrooms.
Sure.
They weren't ready yet to be used, and the electrical was still being worked on them, so they did drop porta potties temporarily.
Okay.
The washing stations are pretty nice.
Correct.
Yep.
So we're close with the locks, and then,
We're very close.
and then it'll be a system where morning, and then a certain, maybe dusk or something like that, it'll lock.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I might suggest that a camera system installed there.
There is a motion sensor lights that come on.
Yeah.
I think you're preventing vandalism and stuff like that. Yeah,
We're talking about, yeah.
we're always cognizant of that as well.
It's definitely a difficult property. to
It
do
is.
something in
Yeah,
that.
neither is access and stuff like that, but.
Wi-Fi, it's not easy, but we are looking into it.
But if you drive by and it's lit up, there's something going on back there, so there is no issue.
We just want to know who did it.
Right. All right, let's keep going here with the meeting. So Joe, anything else under your report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And,
Make a comment
yes,
about the drilling the holes for the concrete.
sure.
Why don't you grind the concrete down so it levels itself out and pours out correctly? You got a machine in there, you could bring and grind the concrete down.
It's a lot more work.
That would.
Instead of putting holes in, that won't work.
95% of the concrete to cure a problem with 5%.
Of curing. Yeah, but you could grind that down so it would flow off correctly.
Yeah, I see what he's saying, where you basically just sand it so it's.
I would.
They have machines
like
that do
to talk to either of you after the meeting on the concrete repair.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for, I don't see anything under his agenda, but I'm waiting for Barry, our solicitor. Anything, Barry, you'd like to touch on this evening, under your report?
Did you wash your hands?
Anything, Barry? No. All right, thank you very much. Chris, what do you have under your report?
Just a couple things for you guys to authorize. The first is to authorize the advertisement of the proposed 2022 budget, as we discussed this a couple of times here, including in the work session. To advertise that, and by advertise, I mean it officially goes into the newspaper. And then it'll be available to be reviewed in person, and also I'll post a copy of it on our website for people to be able to read it.
Thank you.
So that's the first thing, and then the second would be the authorize the advertisement, again, in terms of appointment of Malley LLP to conduct our 2021 audit. So that is our CPA firm that the board has in the past used to audit our books, our financial statements. So that is authorizing the advertising of that appointment. So that would be considered by the board at their meeting in January, the ratification meeting. So this advertisement meets the requirements of the Skippack Township Code. And the last would be to authorize the award of the 2021-2022 snow and ice removal bid. We bid that out again. We only received the same bid again from Jack Strauss Landscaping. So to authorize the award of that contract to Jack Strauss Landscaping. And that is all I have this evening.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions on the board regarding that? No?
Nope.
All right, with that, we will proceed. I have a motion to authorize to advertise the proposed 2022 budget.
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize to advertise the appointment of Malley LLP to conduct the 2021 audit. Do I have a second? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And finally, under the manager's report, do I have a motion to authorize the award of the 2021-2022 snow and ice removal bid to Jack Strauss Landscaping?
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Under old business, I see we have a DVR PC Regional Streetlight Procurement Program. Going to do a presentation for us this evening? Yep. Before you do that, if you could just tell everyone a little bit about what's going on.
Sure. So we're here to talk about a LED streetlight conversion project that you may want to consider. And the DVRPC, Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, has run 2 rounds of a program covering over 60 municipalities so far, and we're now into the 3rd round. And Skippack Township is in the preliminary initial phase, which I'll talk about, of this program. And I'm just here to present today a summary of the feasibility study that's been developed. And the feasibility study is really to give the township an idea of what is the opportunity associated with a lighting upgrade project of this type that's been done through many communities around you, and basically decide if you want to move on to the design phase of this project. Okay?
Well, if there's gonna be a movie, why didn't anybody bring popcorn?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that.
So I will quickly cover the program, but as quickly as I can, I'll get to actually what is in the feasibility study and what the opportunities are. The thing I want to stress, not at this meeting, but in an upcoming meeting, basically your only decision is whether you want to move on to phase 2. So we're going to talk about project scope. We're going to talk about, ideas of what you can do. We're going to talk about options in the project. None of that is being decided at this point. It's just whether you want to move on to the next phase of the project. So the DVRPC, as I mentioned, they developed this project, I think it was 5 years ago that we were engaged with round 1. And basically, the reason that they looked at LED conversions, which have been happening all over the United States in major cities and other areas, every new development, commercially, industrially, institutionally, everything is LED in the lighting market at this point. But many streetlights have very old technology, are energy hogs, they consume a lot of energy, they don't perform as well as new technology, but they're just embedded in it's a great opportunity to improve the street lighting and to improve safety along with it. The primary reason that you look at doing this type of project is there's several. Number one, you get considerable operating cost savings through energy cost savings and also maintenance cost savings because of the long life nature of the product and the more energy efficient nature of it. But we also do improve lighting performance over the older technology, and we have the ability to control that light a lot more than we did with the old technology. So now controls come into play as an option for your street lighting. One thing that's really important as you guys are going through the budgeting process, there's so many projects that you have to do that don't necessarily give a financial return on investment, but you still need to do them. This is a project that gives you a return on investment. So no matter whether it's a capital expenditure or it's finance, which we offer financing through the program, you basically, the operating cost savings are going to pay for the project costs over some amount of time, and then the savings are going to just continue on after that. So you're going to see that in the financials that I showed you in the feasibility study. So as I mentioned, DVRPC developed this. They really focused on municipalities to assist them because they found that many municipalities weren't adopting the new technology, and there are many barriers to these projects occurring. A lot of municipalities may not have had the technical capabilities, didn't have the financing to do this, didn't have a lot of the different aspects to put this program together. May have had some of those items, but maybe not all of them. And they also didn't have the ability to go procure this at the best costs that the industry can offer by actually coming together as a group. And so when we bring together a round of municipalities, we're leveraging the procurement capabilities of many, many municipalities together. So in round 1, we had 35 municipalities that participated, and that was over 25,000 streetlights that were upgraded as part of that project. And that generated over $15.3 million in net savings over a 20-year period. And this is also a very green, sustainable project. You can see in round 1 that there were over 10.6 million kWh that was reduced in 5,500 metric tons of CO2 that were removed from the environment. Round 2, which we're getting close to wrapping up at this point, there's 26 municipalities involved with that project, and there's about 15,000 streetlights that are included there. So we've touched a lot of municipalities and touched a lot of streetlights through the program with great success. I do want to mention, the project that we may be considering at some point, it could be a larger project that you may look at and say, we're gonna have to go through some procurement requirements for that. You actually don't have to do that. As part of DVRPC's turnkey approach, they've done the procurement, they've negotiated the equipment costs, the labor costs, the distributor partners. They pulled all that together, and then you can piggyback off of that via Pennsylvania Procurement Act Chapter 19. So just in line with all the other turnkey aspects, you don't have to do the procurement that's already been done for you. And the results of pulling all the municipalities together is basically in round 2, we took an even more aggressive approach with it, even with fewer municipalities and streetlights. And we actually achieved 18% lower cost than round 1, and round 1 was well below market levels for procuring these for the equipment and the labor. So this is a very cost-effective program. So this is the program. It's split into 4 phases, and basically we're right here in the feasibility phase. This is a no-cost feasibility assessment for the township. DVRPC is covering the cost of that feasibility study and development, but it's all data-driven. So we're not doing any audits at this point. We're not looking at the individual fixtures. We're taking information that's available from PICO and also from the municipality that you provided to us, and that's the basis for the feasibility study. I will tell you though that those feasibility studies often are very, very close to the final end project specification that we come up with at the end of the design phase. So the data that we work with is actually pretty good. If you decide to move on to the design phase, that's phase 2. That's where we actually do the full GIS-based field audits. We do the full design on the project, and many other things that I'll show you a little bit later in the presentation. And then you would decide at the end of phase 2 with a final project specification in front of you. If you want to move on to construction, that's phase 3, and then wrap up with the project is phase 4. So all that's really going to be decided here in the near future is whether you want to move on to phase 2. So we did provide a much more detailed feasibility study. I think it's approximately a 40-page analysis for you, and this presentation summarizes that analysis, but you do have that. So I want to talk a little bit about what's in the project very simply as an overview. You have 48 of these Cobra head fixtures of varying wattages, all older technology, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to replace all those old fixture heads with new LED fixture heads. We keep the arm, the wiring is maintained unless the wiring is deemed to be unsafe, and we do carry contingency to cover rewiring the small percentage of fixtures that we might come across that have that condition. These are all these are, except for one, is really, you own all these fixtures currently. Okay, so you have the right to upgrade them, which is a little different from what I'm going to show you in a moment. So this is the largest part of your project is to upgrade these 48 Cobra head fixtures. There are also 16 decorative fixtures. These are 4-sided colonials, and we took some images here from different developments where they are located. So those 16, these are actually owned by PICO currently, so you would have to buy them back. That's a process that we help you with as part of the phase 2 development, and you would buy them back, and then you have the right to upgrade those. And we would just replace all the fixture heads with a new fixture head, an LED fixture head. These are not fixtures that just have LED lamps in them that you screw in. These are actually purpose-built LED fixtures, which is the most efficient way and the longest life way to develop a LED fixture. And it's what you would buy if you were doing a new development also. Okay. You also do have some what we consider premium decorative fixtures. These cost too much to change the head out, so what we do is we retrofit that head. So you keep the head and you put in a retrofit kit, which we show here, and you have 52 of these. And those also are mostly municipality owned. This is your streetscape fixture, very attractive fixture, but we would retrofit that with this LED retrofit kit. And these are all standard solutions that are tried and true, and we've done, in many areas. Collegeville, all along their streetscape, they did this retrofit kit. I will mention, just off the top of my head, Schwenksville, Trapp, Phoenixville, they've already gone through this project. So there are local communities that you could go look at their overhead lights and their decorative fixtures, and more than likely we upgraded them. We're also going to hit your traffic signal lamps. You have 56 individual lamps that are incandescent, so we'll just replace those to LED.
Can I ask a question or not?
Sure. Well, that's up to
Go ahead, Supervisor.
So when you replace the lights, the traffic lights, will they be censored? And that you won't have to worry about somebody running out and changing the timing? Because the lights know when cars are there? So they do it all over Europe. It's really efficient.
Yeah, we just replaced the lamp that's in there currently. So any controls that exist would be not in the lamp itself.
And I have a question about the design. Obviously, the retrofit is really nice. What about the color temperature? Because I know Skippack has that charm of like Christmas lights that are golden and more of a 3200.
Right.
You know, tungsten, warm, like Parisian type glow, as opposed to whenever I see LED lights replacing things, they're like 5200, like prism lights.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So what are we looking at? I mean, I do agree with the safety aspect, but is there some sort of design that could be in keeping with like, you know, Feasibility kind of gas lamps and that golden glow?
Yeah, color temperature selection is something that we discussed in a lot of detail in phase 2 as part of the design phase. There's actually no cost difference between different color temperatures that you select. So in the project, our standard offering is a 3000K, which is a warmer white color, but we also offer 4000K. And again, when we get to that stage, we'll actually tell you, here's what Phoenixville did. Phoenixville actually did both. They did warmer lights in residential areas, and then they did the cooler lights in their main. But we'll show you those, and you can actually go out and look at them, and that's a choice that can be made during the design phase. Okay.
Thanks.
Early on, you mentioned that you can reduce light pollution with these. How I ask because I have a telescope, I go out in my side yard.
Wow.
I've been teaching my kids this stuff. How do you manage to do that?
Yeah, basically the old style fixture with this type of lens lets the light go into the air. We use all zero uplight LED fixtures, so 100% of the light coming out of that fixture is going down.
Okay.
So this is a dark sky compliant.
That's what I wanted to find out.
Yeah. Now these we can't control from the light. They currently go in all directions out of this fixture, and the new fixture definitely puts more down, but it does have side angles to it, so some light can make itself up, but it's an improvement over what you had. And then these decorative lights, they're not downward lights, but again, this would probably be the same amount of uplight that you currently have. So nowhere with the Cobra heads, we're doing much better. The other ones, we're either doing better or not doing any worse in terms of uplight. We also will, we presented in the feasibility study control options. Again, you're not deciding on any of that at this point, but basically there are manual control options, which are lower cost in-fixture dimmers, essentially, that can allow you to, in the future, adjust light levels if you want to. And then there's also network control systems. And so of the 26 municipalities that we did in round 2, 7 of them did network controls. I think another 10 did manual controls. So this is something in phase 2 we would talk a lot about. But to help with budgeting purposes, we wanted to price out these different options. The nice thing about controls is we actually over-engineer the fixtures from the design level that we want to achieve. So they're slightly larger fixtures, then we dim them down to the design level we want. And when you dim LEDs, unlike other lighting technologies, you actually get even more extended life. So you're getting great life out of LEDs already, but if you start dimming them, if I do approximately 20% dimming, I actually get 20% more life out of that fixture also. So there's many benefits. The main reason people do network control systems is they want proactive reporting for maintenance purposes. So this system here would tell you when you have outages, so you don't have to wait for residents to call them in. You know immediately if there's an outage in your system. And they're highly controllable. You know, you can do different dimming strategies if you want to, and change light levels if you need to. But that being said, we design a standardized lighting system that's appropriate for roadways, for those roadway classes. This is not a suggestion that controls are something that you constantly are changing and, you know, customizing to individual homes or things like that. Yeah.
Again, the traffic lights, would they be part of the network?
No, they don't.
So they're totally separate.
They're totally
just
separate.
LEDs.
Yeah, we're just taking out one lamp and putting in a new lamp. Yeah. So before we go into too deep in the financial, I did mention that you have to buy back at least the decorative fixtures, and a lot of people have the misconception that, oh, well, I call Pico right now to fix those if there's something wrong, and that's correct. It's a Pico-owned tariff that those fixtures are on. And a lot of people think, well, there's no maintenance cost. Well, there actually is a huge maintenance cost to it. You're just paying through your electric bill, the maintenance for that. So even the smallest fixture within Pico, you're paying over $200 per year, whether you maintain it or not, for energy and maintenance costs. The energy cost, if we move you to the new tariff, is going to be half of that, and the maintenance cost will be very low because they're LED and because you just don't maintain all the fixtures every year. You know, you only maintain a very small percentage of that. But this is for only 16 fixtures, so this is a much bigger issue and concern when they're buying back an entire hundreds of fixtures in a municipality. I did mention that the program offers financing. It's usually very low cost, low interest rate. We're gauging in the feasibility phase interest in financing projects. There's a couple different models that we could look at. In round 2, we actually had the counties took out general obligation debt from DelVal, and in turn they gave subject to appropriation loans to the municipalities, and that was at a very, very low rate. We use 3.5% in the feasibility study as a super high conservative rate right now, but this conduit model through DelVal, the rates are actually less than 1% currently. But again, in feasibility, we just want to be conservative everywhere we can. You can also use, if you have surplus liquid fuel funds, you could use some of those funds to go towards a portion of the project. It can also be used if you're doing a financing as a contribution to a loan payment. But a lot of municipalities already have all that allocated and spoken for, but if you do have surplus, it's an option also. So this is quite small, and I'm not going to go through every number. Actually, it's incredibly small here. You can't even read it. So I'll just highlight some things for you. Basically, the base upgrade of doing the Cobra heads and the decoratives and the traffic signals. I can't even read it there. So the cost savings per year, this number right here, is right around $8,000 per year that you would be reducing operating costs by doing those items that I previously mentioned. The project cost net of the rebate is about $51,000. Again, you're not deciding on a project at this point. This is just a feasibility assessment. But that's about a 6.4-year payback on the project. And then we did price out the manual controls and the network controls, and the costs go up. But oddly, Pico actually gives you more of a rebate when you do the controls because of the fixture wattage that I start with is higher, and that puts it into a different category. So actually, the net cost of the project after the rebates are paid of the manual controls is actually less than the base upgrade. So it's almost like they're paying you to do the manual controls, and then they're contributing towards the network controls. That goes up to $69,000. So all the supervisors, I believe, can see these numbers better in the presentation that I gave. And you can see for the network controls, it's about an 8-year payback when you add in all those additional costs. We did also provide cash flows, which again, I will not go through every detail here, but this is the base upgrade cash flow. And here you can see we use the 3.5% over 5 years. And basically you can see that the savings that are generated of close to $8,000 per year, they offset a large portion of the loan payment over 5 years. Depending on the financing model, we could possibly go 10 years with the financing, so you're actually getting pretty close to having the savings pay for 100% of the loan payment or most of it. That's something we'll figure out in phase 2. But what we want to show is in the lower right corner, this is a good number to look at, when all the loan payments for the project are paid and with all the savings over 20 years, this project will generate in excess of $102,000 of net savings. So that's after the project's been paid for. That's money that can go towards other uses. And then we also show for the base upgrade, I'll just jump to the lower right-hand corner. It's a very similar number, about $103,000 net value of the project, or net savings over 20 years. And then the network controls are very close to the same at $96,000. So we just like to show you all these financials, so it gives you a good idea of the opportunity that's there. I mean, you have an attractive project that can give you a return on investment. If you just do a capital outlay, the paybacks are somewhere between 6 and 8 years, and then obviously, you know, you get all the savings after that payback period. So the next steps, just so you know what you'd be agreeing to by going on to phase 2, that's where we do the investment grade audit. We do all the full design work. We've actually already done the procurement. You're piggybacking off of our round 2 procurement, which is good because we have 26 municipalities in round 2. Round 3 is probably our last round that we're doing, that DVRPC will do. A lot of big municipalities have already done it through our program or on their own. And you know, we only have 10 municipalities for round 3, so we're starting to see that we're probably to the end of who's really interested in doing this work. And then this all leads up to, we also take care of all the PICO bill updates as part of the project. Again, everything's turnkey. We take care of the rebates, all of that. And then this leads up at the end of round 2, you get a final project specification, and then you pass a resolution or decide if you want to move on to construction. I will say in phase 2, even if you didn't move on to construction, we do this GIS-based audit. It's an incredible data set that you get, that you'll know the exact inventory of your street lighting system. And behind every little dot that's on a nice looking map is a data set that can all be imported into a GIS system if you have that currently that you're using. But this is what we use for all of our design capabilities. And we keep adding on layers to this GIS data set for design and then construction. And so really this ends up being an as-built for your street light system at the end. So your next steps are to, well, I'll answer any questions that you may have about the feasibility study. And you know, we have given assistance in terms of using these numbers to inform your budget. And then you're really, for the supervisors, the timeline is that before the end of December, so at a December meeting, we're looking for a yes or no decision whether people are moving on to the second phase, because we do this as a program. So all the municipalities move along at the same timeline. And so January is when we would kick off phase 2, bring the auditors in to audit all the municipalities. And I just want to highlight the only thing that you're committing to for phase 2, the phase 2 total design fees, including DVRPC's fees and my firm's fees, are only $3,000. Not that I shouldn't say only, every dollar is important, but it's a very good cost for the type of engineering and design that's being completed here in the GIS-based audit. And that's the power of pulling all the municipalities together, is it's a really low cost structure for even design services. And by the way, I should have said up front, my firm was competitively selected through a DVRPC procurement effort to be the design professional for round 2. We were also the technical advisor to round 1. So we've been involved with the program since the very beginning. Phase 2 kicks off in January, and we'll be putting ourselves in position to get decisions on going to construction sometime in, mid-late spring. And then we'd like to be in construction summer for all 10 municipalities that decide to move forward. So that's what I have for you. I think the schedule is to the next meeting.
The board's decision where the timeline.
Yeah, we provided the other thing that we do is all the legal aspect of things is we do provide a resolution template that has already been provided to the township. So the next step would be passing the resolution, which would basically say that you're going to move to phase 2, and that's actually where you sign a contract with my company, KLS. DVRPC paid our fees in the feasibility phase, but then we would be working directly for you in phases 2 through 4.
Okay.
So that's what I had for you.
Thank you for that presentation. I think at this point we would like to dive into it a little more, get an understanding of it, and then table it for the next meeting. At this point.
Sounds good.
Thank you. That was good information. Anybody on the board here have any questions for him? What's that?
So, are there municipalities you can talk to that had this done, say, 3 years ago, that we could call and vet out how the savings matched up with forecasts?
Yeah, round 1, that may be in that 3-year range. So Phoenixville was in round 1, Schwenksville was in round 1. I mean, I can give you a much. There was 35 municipalities in round 1, so we could get that list.
Yeah,
to Chris.
kind of check.
Yep.
Roberta, I can still go.
Okay, can I just make one point? So the energy savings that you get, this is unmetered, mostly unmetered. So PICO, basically the way it works is you tell them what you have and they accept it, and there's no debate over what's actually there. They don't audit it, they don't confirm it. So what we submit to PICO is what they put on your bill. So it's really, it's really, I'm trying to avoid the word guaranteed because that has another implication, a guaranteed savings program, which this is not. But but basically it's guaranteed because they just accept what we give them, the wattages of the new fixtures and the quantities. So, and they have no justification or rationale for changing that. So I think you'll find the savings are.
Okay, it's just all those things,
How
was maintenance, how was the project?
Just to look into it, better
Right.
educated on it. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Is that report publicly available?
It's been provided to the supervisors. I don't know what.
We have 2 questions and then we'll let you go. Go ahead, Roberta.
Okay, Roberta Bracken, Store Road. As you all know, I was the manager of the Freight Center. We did something similar to this there. I had to break it down into several different projects and all, but it was well worth it. We did see, and I was the biggest skeptic of all, but we did see a big savings switching over to the LEDs.
When did you do that? How far back? How far back did you do that?
Over the past, it was over, I've been retired for 2 years. So it was before that, a couple of years, so, yeah.
Well, that's good information. Thank you.
Yeah, we did the barns with one project, we did inside, they're still working on the inside of the building, because that is in-house, some of it we did through PICO. But, so I've done this project a couple of times, not with this group, but their numbers were actually pretty spot on, what we were given anyway, for the savings going to the LEDs, and the longevity, and you don't have a lot of the repairs and all that and everything, so it was well worth it.
That's good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Why don't we change all the fixtures in the town, since they're all beat up, and go to a different design? Instead of just retrofitting the fixtures.
Well, that's only on a handful of them, right?
Most of the retrofits, I think the quantity was 52. A lot of those are in very updated, attractive streetscape fixtures.
Like the fixtures in town, they're basically pretty ugly fixtures.
I think there's two different sides of it. One side of the street has banners and wreaths, and they're beautiful, and it's very.
What it is, it lights it up too much, and then you can't see the stores. If you dome the lights down to the sidewalks where you need to see, then you can see the stores a lot better. Be better for business in Skippack.
field.
Instead of just bright light all over the place. Like Schweinsville did it, the domes lights you were talking about,
Yeah.
Schweinsville.
Yeah, I think they did some.
They're pretty lights.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up to the board.
Will what you're doing make a difference with any of that type of lighting, or?
I mean, no, generally it improves everything. I mean, there is a utilitarian street, like the Cobra Head. It's on a old Pico wood pole, and it's got a aluminum arm, it's utilitarian.
That's a street light. I'm just talking about the dome light you put it like the walk path or in front of the old firehouse, stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that are gonna retrofit, so we're gonna maintain the integrity of the fixture. In the residential areas, those 16 will be improved, they'll look much better. They're
So
gonna
you
be
just
brand
change the top.
Fixtures, yeah.
That's all. So we could go to a whole different design.
Yeah, we'll have to look at
Upgrade
that.
the town.
We'll have to look at that. Thank you.
It seems that there's also a positive environmental impact here. And a new infrastructure bill has been approved. I know I'm way ahead of my skis here, but the potential for the township to get some federal money to pay for something like this, just on the merits of the environmental impact, should be something that should be considered.
Thank you.
My only comment to that is, some municipalities go after grants for like streetscape projects because they're very, very expensive. These street lighting type projects, often it takes years to get those grants. So this program would probably be done before you would ever get a grant for that. And it's better to use a grant for something that doesn't give, like streetscape projects don't have a big return on investment in terms of energy costs and things like that, because you actually put in a lot more fixtures, they're more beautiful, they cost more. So that's good for grant use.
Whereas you're saying we're gonna get a return here.
Here you get a return.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. We'll look into it and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. With that, does anyone have anything under new business?
Sure.
I see nothing. Thank you for coming out, everyone. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.